I so salty? Why am I so bitter? See, what I do is called simple yet effective. I am the measuring stick of what old school wrestling is all about. It's called professional wrestling for a reason. Reason.
Dark in the city, night is a wire. Steam in the subway, up is a fire. Touch with the ground, I'm on the hunt, I'm after you. Smell like a sound, I'm lost in a cloud, and I'm hungry like the wolves. Travel the line, discord and rhyme, I'm on the hunt, I'm after you. Mouth is alive, juice is like wine, and I'm hungry like the wolves.
Are you a fan of pro wrestling, comedy, and combat sports? Then we have the podcast for you because we cover that and much, much more.
Do you like to debate with your friends? Do we have the perfect segment for you? It's the 531, where we take any given subject, break it down to a top 5. From there, we debate it down to 3, and then into that number 1 spot.
If you want to get a hold of us, find us on our social medias. Search Working Fans Podcast on any major social media platform. And if you want to find the podcast, search for us on any major podcast platform, as well as YouTube.
Working Fans Podcast. We put in the work so you don't have to.
All right, everybody, it's the Working Fans Podcast with the man they call Dave. One of my co-hosts is always AJ Strangebrew, and we got Chad Minnis on the show today, and he's got a bunch of stuff coming up. One of them, standalone wrestling. It's going to be coming to our area, Norwich, Connecticut, but he's got other events too that he's going to promote. First off, let's just start off with Chad. You're a busy guy. Welcome to the show, man.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be on here. Definitely looking forward to debuting in Connecticut and coming up to your neighborhood. It's our first time up there. You know, we're a New Jersey-based promotion. We just started in PA this year, and the Connecticut thing just happened to line up, and we're excited to come up there too.
Awesome. Now, what got you into promoting wrestling?
So years ago, I watched wrestling like everybody else who's involved. My first match I ever saw was Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan with the Amazing Slam. And from there, I was hooked. And after the Stone Cold Rock era, I actually stopped watching altogether. You know, I just totally got bored of it and tired of it. And, you know, whether I grew up or, you know, just was tired of, you know, the storylines, you know, I just was done with it for a little while. And then my son, my first son, he's 12 now. His name is Carter. I was potty training him. And he just had an attraction to my autographed wrestling figures for some reason. And I would give him one every time he went to the bathroom. And then it became like, you know, I wound up giving him 5, 6, 7. And, you know, that worked out well. Never watched wrestling yet. One night I just randomly was flicking through the channels and put on Monday Night Raw. And his eyes got all big. And he was hooked like I was when I saw the Hogan Andre the Giant spot. And from there, I took him to a live show, which was PWS WrestlePro at the time. And I'm an entrepreneur at heart myself. You know, I own several businesses from I have a cannabis convention, a food truck festival, you know, comedy shows, and then I own a new construction cleaning business also. So I'm always involved in, you know, different things. So I got involved on the vending end with WrestlePro. And this is when they converted from PWS to WrestlePro at the time. And WrestlePro right away was super, super hot. Brought in Ric Flair and Cody Rhodes for one of the first shows. And, you know, it all just grew from there, you know, and I've had many, like any other relationships in life, I've had many where we've broken up and moved on. So I went from, Wrestle Pro to SWF, who I still work with now. And then I started standalone wrestling with Preacher Phineas James from CZW. And then I've moved on to launch one of the biggest East Coast ring rental operations. I've worked behind the scenes for ICW and GCW, going to Dallas for the Collective. Next Tuesday I leave for WrestleMania week. So started small from vending, and grew into like all aspects of pro wrestling, including even at MLW in Philadelphia, I help book extras, and in New York and stuff like that. So very blessed in pro wrestling.
Chad, first and foremost, I just wanted to say, hey, first, thanks for doing the independent wrestling. I wrestled in a time period years ago when there wasn't the independent wrestling like it is now. Growing up like yourself in the 80s and then wrestling in the 90s, a lot of it was very carny-like, whereas to see what you've developed with your promotions and to see you really helping grow, giving the place for young talent to work, giving a place for veterans to actually come and still work. I just wanted to say thank you, first of all, for that. But what's it been like to work as an independent promoter and to try to expand? Has it been easy to expand? Has it been challenging?
So very challenging, of course. In my area that I'm working in, number one in New Jersey, it's so oversaturated with pro wrestling. You're talking on any, there's only 4 Saturdays in a month. So on those 4 Saturdays, there's like 67 to 70 something promotions that are running. So we run into the issue of, you're dividing the talent, you're dividing the fans, lower gates, which makes it a struggle to. I like to pay the workers a fair rate. So if you want to have a small gate and do that, the profit margins are so small, or if the show is even profitable at all. So that's one struggle. And then, into PA, we're dealing with the commissions, and you have to have a doctor. So the expenses are so high. So, that's two balances right there of, very different structures of the business. And as we look forward to Connecticut, we're not dealing with a commission. Historically, though, prices on tickets are very, very low in Connecticut from shows I've seen, and not very big budget shows, this is a very big budget show that we're bringing in. And it's very different because like NEW who runs up there, those are paid shows, where a fundraiser will actually pay for the show and sponsors will come in and cover costs. This show's being done out of pocket with huge risk to bring something like this to the market. So, of course, we're a promotion normally in Connecticut will charge $10. I'm forced to charge like a $30, $25 ticket. Please upgrade for the VIP ticket and those kind of perks. So, as I just explained, in each state and each territory that we're in, the business structure is very, very different. So it is very challenging.
Well, Chad, we both want to go VIP. If our fans out there want to go for that VIP ticket and make sure they get the best experience possible, how much is that going to be on the Connecticut show?
So there's a Kalisto meet and greet, which you get to meet him and you get a front row. That's $50. There's a front row for $30, and there's also a VIP white glove upgrade, which is a picture in the ring with our ring announcer and one standalone roster talent, which is $35. So we have all different prices. And then we go down to a $20 GA as well. So again, there's something for everybody as far as the price structure goes.
Well, to be honest with you, Chad, we're all wrestling fans. We all grew up. We have those childhood memories. For what you're talking about and having an opportunity to give a child a memory, have a memory yourself, I don't think those prices are too high or unreasonable at all. I think they're great prices. So thank you for that.
No problem. Yeah, and the show will, the show too. We have a deal with IWTV. So, if you're in attendance in the show, you're going to be able to see that show for the rest of your life on IWTV. Again, you're talking about memories. That's something that you'll have forever.
Yeah, and you can't put a price tag on that.
You have a lot of unique, like not just the talent in the show, but like some of the names in the sense, like I'm looking at this like poster. I see Davey Richards. I see TJ Perkins. Independent names, guys have been in WWE or been exposed. Marco Stunt, AEW. But you also have like guys like Bob Backlund, who's going to be there, a legend from 70s, 80s, 90s. So what I guess, and it doesn't even have to be this card in orange. What goes into the mindset of like, okay, we're looking for somebody in specific markets, maybe?
So my philosophy for booking wrestling shows is again to provide something for every audience. So I like to book some old school legends. I like to book guys who were just released from WWE or AEW who are still hot. Add some comedy in there, some female wrestling. I really, really, really want to provide a product with something. If a whole family comes, there's something for everybody. And I do the same thing with my cannabis events too. So if you're a cannabis user, we have events for people like that. But at my cannabis events, I also run pro wrestling shows, and I run comedy, and I run family events as well there, whether it's a petting zoo or things like that. So again, if you bring a family of 6 or 7 people, there's going to be something for absolutely every single person to do. And that's the same thing I do with wrestling. If you want if you want some funny spots, if you want to laugh, the person who's in that family that likes the comedy stuff is going to like that. If you want to see John Wayne Murdoch in like some hardcore spots, and you're into that type of thing, you're going to get that. If you want to see women's wrestling, you're going to get some of that. So a great mixture of 7 to 9 spots, 7 to 9 matches per show, to give a value for everybody, and then to also give them something that they want to come back and see again.
Well, you're actually talking about a lot of things that are close to our heart. First, Dave loves a good value. Producer Joe loves a great cannabis show. And then myself, I actually have wrestled and do stand-up comedy. So you're literally hitting all of our sweet spots all in one show. So that's fantastic.
Yeah. You kind of, I think of what I heard some of the veteran promoters and executive guys like Eric Bischoff would always say, you want a buffet, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now you're hitting my wife's sweet spots. She loves a good buffet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's different. Never mind.
Yeah, that's just the same thing with my booking philosophy too. Is how we're talking about Connecticut and PA and stuff like that. I want to go back to that old school mentality of the circus. I want the show to be special when we come to town. So when we come to Norwich once a year or twice a year, they're like, "Oh my God, we can't miss this." And then when we go back to Schuylkill Haven, PA, they're like, "Oh my God, we have to see this." And then we go to Atlantic City, they're like, "Oh my God, we have to see this." Standalone and Pro Wrestling After Dark is here. They're only here once or twice a year.
Absolutely. And you were talking about before, I think we got on, about you're about to like, okay, because of another event you got, it's like hanging up posters, hanging up banners and stuff like that. Let people know you're coming. It's like that circus. You want people to know you're coming to town, basically.
Yeah. Some promoters have totally abandoned, the street work, and they believe that only social media is needed. But there's a whole segment of a fan base that doesn't use social media or doesn't follow you on social media that you still have to educate to this kind of stuff. And if you're the grandparent that wants to bring their grandchildren to somewhere and they see the flyer in the sub shop that we just went to or the pizzeria, they're like, "Oh my God, the grandkids might like this." So then you go from the one person who might have seen it online to a whole family that's going to come because they saw the flyer in the window. And we get phone calls. SWF is a product that I help produce for, and they just had a whole birthday party that almost sold out the entire front row because the gentleman saw the flyer in the window.
The fact of the matter is, Billy or Sally might not see it on social media because mom and dad don't let them on there. But you go out to a pizza shop and Billy all of a sudden says, "Oh my God, pro wrestling is coming to town." And he's like, Daddy, can we please go? You're much more likely to get that whole family.
Goes to that buffet factor again. Have that variety, how you're going to promote. Put your hands in there.
Right.
So what I'm interested too is you said you had another show coming up too. Where is that, and what are some of the people maybe appearing on that show?
Yeah, so our next one is my first full death match show. I've done death matches in some of my shows before. One of our biggest ones was Takeda versus Brandon Kirk, which on Brandon Kirk's YouTube, it has over 1 million views already. One of my most proud matches that I've produced. But this one is based on John Wayne Murdoch, who last year was voted #1 pro wrestler in the world by IWTV. And he's also the Pro Wrestling After Dark champion. So we're actually theming this whole show around him, like he's hosting it, which is, a new way to promote shows too, is, basing the show around a talent or a theme, so it's not just your ordinary wrestling show again. So this one is called Violence for the Sake of, and it's going to be 4 women and 4 men in a tournament format. and the men and the women will compete against each other in death matches. And then the last two remaining, one man and one female, will go work in an intergender death match for the finals.
Very nice, man. I love the variety of these promotions. That's awesome. Like when you're coming up with ideas, do you talk to do you have people in the business or other promoters you talk to, or what's the creative process like that for?
Yeah, so myself, I'm kind of controversial, which you'll see on Facebook if you follow me and stuff like that. I have promoters that I don't get along with, and I'm highly outspoken about the business, what's good and what's bad, and people's opinions, offend people nowadays. So it's
Right.
it's kind of rough. But then I have a great list of promoters that I work very close with, and who have guided me over the years, and like. Again, I started working with GCW again, Brett Lauderdale, and I just came back from Atlanta last weekend. They had a huge show. They debuted at Center Stage, which
Right.
was the old WCW venue. And I told them, dude, anything I could learn, anything I could help with, just I want to understand more, because in any business, but I clean toilets as a real job. I'm a toilet cleaner, construction cleaning, but you always learn something on the job. The other events that I run, you're always learning something. So to get feedback from other promoters and learn from them. I work really good with this group PPW in Pennsylvania, 1CW in Delaware, Lucha promoters I deal with in New Jersey. I probably have ring rentals with probably 12 to 15 companies, and each one of those, when I go to the shows, we have a fabulous relationship. And you'll see when you follow me on social media, you'll see I share the other promoter stuff too, because I'm not afraid to have competition, and I want to see the boys and girls do well, and I want to see the audiences have choices of different products as well.
So
Yeah.
I've seen your stuff on social media, and I think it's fantastic. I like the
Oh,
fact that you are blatantly honest with people. You don't have a filter. If people are the drizzling shits, you share that with people to let them know that the promoter's an asshole. Pardon my French. But you also don't hold back about good shows and good promoters, and you're helping to grow the product. Because when people go out to see good promoters, they come back. If people are going out to see these frauds and these bad promoters, then they get that taste in their mouth, and it keeps them from coming to the good shows. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, so pro wrestling definitely isn't something that I do to get rich or to make a quick buck. I love investing in talents and people and products and other promoters as well. I just shared this story yesterday. You saw the Notorious Mimi just got signed by WWE yesterday. So Mimi's a girl who I did a tryout camp. At the end of the day, after I fed everybody. I think I charged $35 for the admission. It was like an 8-hour day. After all costs and everything like that, I think I walked away with $75 for the day, where in my business I make well beyond that. So I spent the whole day for $75. All these talents came, and Mimi was one of the girls that was a standout. And from there, Titan Championship Wrestling, TCW, was at the camp too, and they booked her, and she became their champion, and started to get used, all over the state, and then, all over the country, and then, the spots in AEW, and, now you see her signed, and, that's something that's amazing to me. Another one of my guys who I used to use all the time was John Cruz. I used to fly him up from Florida before anybody started using him up here, and he's on AEW every single week now. And I like just being able to take those chances on people. And when you see things that maybe other people don't see, and just give those opportunities.
Yeah, it feels great to know that you're a link in someone's chain when you look back at how they got to where they are. Even if we're just a small link in the chain, it just feels amazing to know you're a part of it.
Yeah, and my absolute weakness in pro wrestling is the in-ring work. I'm the behind the scenes guy. I'm more of a story guy. I'm more of a, get the word out about the promotions and the talents, and producing the shows. But I always make sure that I have people at my shows that are capable of handling, like the last show in Schuylkill Haven that I did. Brandon Kirk, he's a trainer at H2O. I had him run the locker room. If you need questions on the matches and you need help with that on that aspect, he's there. My champion Sean Donovan, who's been on AEW, Impact, WWE, a little bit of everything, an old school vet. I just make sure he's always available at the shows. Hey, listen, the younger guys, when we put the matches together, this is what I'm looking for as a promoter. But then if you have any questions in the ring, this is the guy to go to. So at the same time that I see people's strengths and weaknesses, I also am able to evaluate mine as well.
How important is that, not only as a promoter, but an entrepreneur, any kind of venture, is to get the right team together and put the right people in the right places? It seems like that's one of the most crucial things you can do.
Yeah, and again, that's something that you see me be critical about online too. Is some promoters just book shows because they want to book themselves. Some promoters run shows because they want to book their friends. Some promoters run shows and they think they can handle everything. They're not evaluating themselves and their strengths and their weaknesses and building teams. Yeah, that is definitely important in every aspect of every single business that I'm involved in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I guess one of the other things too, passion, right? Like you said, you're not going to make necessarily a ton of money on this. If you can go away and get away with some money on this, awesome. But so you better love it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, again, for me, it's just, I love being able to provide outlets for people on all the events where they can just escape for a weekend from real life, whatever struggles we have, and just provide an outlet for them to not be judged and just have an amazing time away from the weekend. I've done the LGBTQ pro wrestling shows I launched this year, where people can celebrate their pride while attending pro wrestling shows. And all the events that I do, I work with a group called Vet Ticks, where we give free tickets away to the vets and their families. Connecticut will be one at the Boardwalk Buds, which was my cannabis convention. We had 600 vets all come in for free. And what was cool about that is, so I didn't make any money at the door, but my vendors did. The vets spent money on the vendor tables and stuff like that. So I was able to give back, and also my partners, who are vendors, are super important to any business. They made a return on that kind of stuff.
So I'm going to ask you one of the hard-hitting questions here, because I know Dave's been dying to ask it. It's off topic, but what kind of food truck do you have?
What kind of food truck?
Yeah, I heard you mention food truck in there, and it kind of went by. And as someone who is a firm believer that some of the best food you can get is from food trucks,
yeah,
I'm just a little curious.
And it must be so tough too. Like right now after COVID, like that's why I'm kind of curious. Yeah, how's that going?
So I actually run the food truck festivals themselves. I'm not the owner of the food truck, but at the Boardwalk Buds, which was amazing. Everybody's having a good time and sampling their activities, and of course you're hungry. So
a little bit munchies maybe.
Great cross promotion.
Exactly, the munchies. So, and that's what we called it. It was called Main Street Munchies. So you left our convention space, and you went right out to the food truck festival. And you're talking everything from Spanish food to seafood to there's a place from Maryland that came up with crab cakes. Really, I think we had 22 food trucks at that festival. In September, I'm hoping to have about 30 at that food truck festival as well. And again, just like the wrestling, you want a food truck with something for everybody. Again, it's the variety, because people will sample a couple food trucks per day, or come back the next day and try a couple more. So again, variety is key with everything, as we're talking about.
So you can't tell by looking at us, because obviously you can only see our heads. But Dave's about half my size, but he could eat a full meal at each one of those food trucks.
Really?
Absolutely.
I feel that anyway, but 45 now. So, but I was just gonna ask too, like as an entrepreneur, you got all these different venues and different ventures you're working on. Is there like goals you have set for yourself, like in a year, or are they bigger goals? Like, how's that work?
So my goals in wrestling right now is to take my IWTV product and get that to cover the costs of about half of the show. And second goal is to hit 3 more states within the next year.
Awesome.
So again, continuing to build that circus tour. And I don't have any states in mind particularly yet. That's still something I'm working on. But to get from New Jersey to PA to Connecticut in 1 year, which is what we did, that was a 1-year process, is pretty exciting. So to add a couple more to that, it would really, really be thrilling. And last year, I only hoped to run 3 shows this year. And I'm running 1 to 2 shows a month now this year. So pretty exciting that things happen that fast.
All right, Chad. Well, you've been great. Is anything else you want to promote? And also, you can hit us with social media as well.
Chad, real quick, if I want to check out that IWTV and I want to check out Standalone on there, do I go to IWTV and put in Standalone and it pops up and that's
Yeah, absolutely. So it's IWTV.live. You search Standalone Wrestling, my channel will come up. And I also have products from other companies that I have good relationships with. A company in Cape May is going to debut called Sure Star Wrestling, and they'll be on my IWTV channel. Project Codename Wrestling is on my channel. SWF, IWA, and Project Codename Wrestling, and BWF, Bronx Wrestling Federation. So not only can you see my products, but you can see other promoters that again, I'm doing this to help bring their brand to other people as well. So it's a great channel to check out. IWTV is only $10 a month, and it has more wrestling content than any other product that there is out there. As far as tickets, you could go to my Atlantic City events at the Anchor Rock Club. It's TIXR.com. It's a private ticket site, Tixr.com. And my Eventbrite for all the other events, including the Connecticut event, is foundationofwrestling.com. And that's on Eventbrite. No, foundationofwrestling.eventbrite.com.
All right. And we actually have your, I didn't see it. We actually have your social media right above. So this will all come out.
Oh, awesome.
Chad, again, thank you so much. And we really appreciate you coming up here to our neck of the woods too. And after this is over, we'll talk a little more too. But thank you.
Thank you for being a part of this, Chad. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Pro Wrestling After Dark and John Wayne Murdoch present a night of hardcore action with violence for the sake of. Saturday, April 9th at the Anchor Rock Club in AC. 7 p.m. doors, all ages. Featuring Casanova Valentine, Randy West, Demolador, Sawyer Wreck, Bam Sullivan, Sadie Suicide, Reed Bentley, Casey Cattell. Hosted by ring announcer Larry Legend. With non-tourney action, the Duke of Hardcore JWM versus Brandon Kirk. Deathmatch, Satu Jin versus Vinny Cenzo. Plus an appearance from ECW icon The Sandman. Tix at door night of or at TIXR.com.